When you think of a Corvette, the first things that usually come to mind are sleek lines, raw power, and the undeniable legacy it carries as an American supercar. Yet the 2025 Corvette ZR1 has been met with mixed reactions. In particular, one surprising trend is the amount of online criticism focused on its looks, with some people outright calling it ugly. But why? Now that's a very tricky question, at least for some of you out there, but I fear for most it's a very easy one. And right now it's a very interesting question to ask too. So in this video we're going to talk about what some people have had to say about the looks of the 2025 ZR1, what I personally think about it, and if at all what anyone thinks matters to GM or if it should even matter to anyone. Let's get right into it. To kick things off, I'm going to let you answer that question yourself, so go over to the comment section right now and type your answer, yes or no. You have 10 seconds. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's actually dissect this topic to get some interesting takes, starting with the comments. So right about now on the screen should be some of the comments people have made on Reddit, community walls, forums, and in the comments section of all the different blogs out there. Pretty interesting, some of them, and funny too. Personally, I had a good laugh when I saw this one, and the replies that came with it.
That was terrible.
But now what we're going to do is analyze some of the most common comments I'd seen people make about the ZR1's looks. The aggressive rear wing. One of the loudest complaints has been directed at the 2025 ZR1's large rear wing. Some describe it as overbearing or resembling a shopping cart handle attached to an otherwise stunning car. I get it. The wing is massive, and it's the first thing you notice as you gaze at the rear. But let's pause for a moment and think about why it's there. This isn't just an aesthetic choice. This wing serves a critical function. Part of the ZTK performance package, the carbon fiber high downforce wing is designed to keep the car planted on the road at high speeds. You see, the ZR1 isn't just a car you take out for a Sunday drive. It's a track weapon capable of reaching over 200 miles per hour. The aggressive aerodynamics, including the rear wing and front dive planes, provide much needed stability when pushing the car to its limits. Could GM have made it smaller? Maybe, but it would have come at the cost of performance. In a way, the wing is like wearing a race helmet. It might not be the most fashionable accessory, but if you want to survive a crash at high speeds, you're going to wear it. And if you're driving a car like the ZR1, you want that wing doing its job, even if it comes off as a little dramatic. Too busy or just right? Another sticking point among critics is that the ZR1's design feels too cluttered or busy, with many saying there's just too much going on visually. With all the carbon fiber accents, split windows, and vents, it's certainly a far cry from the smoother, more minimalist designs of earlier Corvettes. Some argue that Chevrolet tried to cram too many design elements onto one car, but here's where you have to think about the philosophy behind the ZR1. It's a car that wears its functionality on its sleeve, or rather on its carbon fiber ducts and inlets. Those air intakes aren't for show, they cool the turbo compressor inlet air temperatures. The side profile air ducts funnel cool air to the rear brakes to keep them from overheating under extreme conditions. Every vent, every intake, every carbon fiber panel serves a purpose. Could it be cleaner? Possibly. But when you're dealing with a machine that needs to maximize every ounce of performance, aesthetics sometimes have to take a back seat. It's like a fighter jet. There's nothing clean or minimalist about it, but it does its job. Split window design. Moving on, the reintroduction of the split window design, a nod to the classic C2 generation Corvette. Some commenters have expressed confusion over this decision, claiming it interrupts the flow of the rear profile. It looks like they glued two different cars together, one Reddit user lamented. Yet this retro design feature is far from arbitrary. It serves a practical purpose by aiding in heat extraction from the engine bay, enhancing performance. Chevrolet's homage to Corvette history, combined with modern engineering, makes the split window a dual-purpose feature. Nostalgic and functional. In fact, it's the perfect example of how Corvette manages to weave heritage into modern innovation. The fusion of old and new is exactly what Corvette enthusiasts typically celebrate, and Chevrolet was clearly aiming to evoke the emotional resonance of past models while pushing performance boundaries. Aggression dialed up too high. Now to the ZR1's front fascia. With sharp angular lines and a gaping grille designed for airflow, some have described it as too aggressive, or trying too hard to look mean. It's too close to supercar dramatics for purists, and it stands in sharp contrast to the previous Corvette's smoother, more organic designs. However, again, the design plays a key role. The twin-turbocharged LT7 V8 engine of the ZR1 needs less heat, which is why those enormous air intakes are so important. They channel cold air into the engine compartment, so while some might find the front end a bit over the top, GM's engineers clearly prioritized function over form here. In a way, the design mirrors the ZR1's performance. Brutal, unrelenting, and unapologetically in your face. For better or worse, this isn't a car that's meant to blend in with the crowd. Could Chevrolet have made different design choices? Well, to understand why the ZR1 looks the way it does, we need to consider what it was built for. This is a car designed to dominate the track, with aerodynamics and cooling systems that directly impact its ability to perform. As a result, many of the elements that some find ugly are integral to making this car the fastest and most powerful Corvette ever made. GM's engineers didn't set out to create a universally appealing design. They were crafting a high-performance machine that just happens to be street legal. And for those who truly understand the ZR1's purpose, the aggressive design is part of its charm. So while GM may have had alternatives, this was probably the best shot they had at achieving those numbers while keeping the Corvette still a Corvette. My personal take. Now, for my take, I think the 2025 ZR1 walks a fine line between aggressive and overdone. Yes, the rear wing is massive and the front fascia is a bit extreme, but it all comes together with a clear purpose in mind. This car wasn't designed for coffee runs or casual Sunday drives. It's meant to stand, whether you like it or not, or whether in a way you like or not. There's something unapologetically raw about the ZR1 that I appreciate. It doesn't try to be pretty. It's a performance-first machine, and that's reflected in every sharp angle and exaggerated aero component. And in a segment filled with cars that often prioritize aesthetics over function, the ZR1 goes in the opposite direction, and I respect that. Would I call it ugly? No. I'd call it bold. And bold by nature will always divide opinion. The devil's in the details. Beyond the obvious design choices, let's take a closer look at the features underpinning the 2025 Corvette ZR1's incredible performance. Starting with its brake system, Chevrolet introduced a new carbon ceramic rotor manufacturing technology that vastly improves durability and cooling efficiency. These rotors are massive, with 15.7-inch front rotors, the largest ever on a Corvette, paired with slightly smaller 15.4-inch rear ones. The braking power is astonishing, allowing the ZR1 to rocket from 80 to 200 miles per hour and back to 80 in just 24.5 seconds. To put that into perspective, it's 22% faster than the C7 ZR1 and 53% quicker than the C6 ZR1. Those are numbers that can only come from a vehicle engineered for top-tier track performance. As for what's under the hood, let's not forget the LT7 engine. This monster of a motor produces more power than two LS7 engines combined. The legendary 7 liters V8 from the C6 Corvette Z06. That's like having one LS7 engine per cylinder bank, which is simply mind-blowing when you consider the power output. This car obviously wasn't aiming for the looks, which will disappoint some of you. It's about packing as much performance into every inch of this car as is possible. To put things into perspective, wondering whoever it was who approved the ZR1's new design won't get anyone anywhere. It's been done, and that's that. And it doesn't actually look bad, too. I mean, think about it. With the wins that come packed in the car, it should make the design really irrelevant. Besides, the design is decent as it is. Is the 2025 ZR1 Corvette ugly? That's really up to personal taste. For some, the aggressive, almost hypercar-like styling might be too much to handle. For others, the ZR1 represents a raw, unfiltered performance machine that doesn't care if it's beautiful in the traditional sense. The truth is, the ZR1 wasn't designed to be universally loved. It was built to be the fastest, most powerful Corvette in history. And in that pursuit, some compromises in aesthetics were made in favor of performance. If that's what you're after, then this car is a masterpiece. If you're looking for elegance, you might need to look elsewhere. But let me ask you again, after everything we've explored, would you describe the 2025 ZR1 Corvette as ugly?